Chapter 30 to the Vision. Klein looked at the thick dark blue liquid, which was hard to tell whether it was a glass or a lump, and swallowed with difficulty. Just drink it? Is there no need for additional preparation, like rituals, incantations, or prayers? Old Neil said, "Ugh, ready. Yes, you'll start with a glass of Innis's Ormer, smoke a dipsy cigar, hum a melodious melody, dance a light court dance, tap dance if you like, and finish with a game of quint." As Klein's expression grew dumbstruck, Neil smiled and summarized the previous description. "If you're feeling nervous, you're funny." Klein's mouth twitched twice, resisting the urge to draw the gun. He put down his cane, stretched out his right hand, and lifted the opaque cup as if it were a heavy object. The smell of the potion was faint and unreal. Young people do not hesitate. The more hesitant, the more nervous, the more afraid, the more impact on the absorption of the next. Neil Sr. turned his back to Klein, as if casually saying, he did not know when he had reached the sink next to him, turned on the tap, and began to wash his hands. Klein nodded silently, took a deep breath, and, like when she was a child, held the opaque glass to her mouth, lifted her head, and gulped. A cool, greasy sensation quickly filled his mouth, then slid down his esophagus and into his stomach. The thick, deep blue liquid seemed to sprout thin tentacles, and the cold and excitement penetrated every cell in Klein's body. He began to twitch involuntarily. His eyes quickly became blurred. All the colors increased, red more red, blue more blue, black more black, thick color blocks, patchwork, like the Impressionist master spilled oil painting. Klein had experienced such a scene before, when Daly, the psychic, asked. At this moment, his vision is blurred, his thinking is wandering, but clear, like a victim floating on the sea. Gradually, he saw the scene around him clearly, all the colors clearly overlapping each other, and the gray and unreal fog was faintly diffused. Around him were objects that were indescribable in form and even so transparent as if they did not exist. In the depths, there were bright and clear lights of different colors, which seemed to have life or contain endless knowledge. This is similar to what we saw in the transfer ceremony. Klein could look down and see herself standing still, her body pumping. Suddenly, he had a realization, and his consciousness suddenly sank and became one with his body. Ba-boom! The fog quickly clears. The color blocks are normal at the same time. The bright and clear light and non-existent objects disappear in an instant. The scene in the Alchemist returned to normal, but Klein felt his head swell, a tendency to crack, a tendency to see countless double shadows of everything, and an ethereal whisper of something in his ear. Hornix, Fregra, Hornix, Fregra, Hornix, Fregra. Klein had a sharp pain in her forehead, and her heart was quickly filled with the urge to vent, to destroy. He frowned and tossed his head. Is your vision abnormal and hear sounds you couldn't hear before? Old Neil asked with a smile. Yes, Mr. Neil. What should I do? Klein stifled her intense mania and asked. Old Neil chuckled. This is because the power of the potion has spilled over, and you lack any means of control. Well, do as I say. Picture an object in your mind, common, simple, easy. Klein drew attention to her half-height black silk top hat, thinking about how it would feel to touch it, thinking about its concrete shape. Does it feel a little better to put all your attention on it? To keep repeating it? To keep outlining it? Old Neil's voice came through like a requiem song. Klein turns her attention to the imaginary silk top hat, only to hear the whispers in her ears gradually diminish until they disappear, and the double shadows in her eyes gradually merge, no longer blurred. Much better. Klein exhaled as she calmed her feelings. He looked down at his body and saw nothing out of the ordinary. Moving again, Klein asks, half expectant, half confused, "I made it. A fortune teller. Old Neil pulled out a mercury-plated mirror from the side and held it close to him. Look at the eyes. Klein looked in the mirror and saw herself wearing a black top hat with a dark outline and ordinary features. Except for the sweat on her face, she seemed to have no difference from before. He followed old Neil's cue and looked carefully at his eyes, only to find that his original brown eyes had deepened a lot. As deep as if there was no light in the night, as deep as if they could absorb the soul of others. Normally, dark brown pupils are easily seen as black, which Klein could not detect without carefully distinguishing them. This is a manifestation of the power of the potion. And when you learn to meditate and to restrain yourself, your eyes will return to normal. Old Neil smiled and held out his right hand. Congratulations, new extraordinary, our fortune teller. Thank you. Klein reached out and shook hands. Mr. Neil, when can I learn to meditate? You can do it now. The initial meditation is pretty easy, especially for the extraordinary. Old Neil smiled and said, just now you are drawing objects in your mind to divert attention. Absorbing the power of the overflow is actually the first step of meditation. You do it again. Klein closes her eyes and reimagines the half-height black silk top hat. His attention seemed to concentrate more easily than ever, and soon a number of thoughts came and went, leaving only the outline of the top hat. Leave your head slightly empty, and then replace the sketched objects with imaginary objects that do not exist in the world. This rule must be observed, and only in this way can you enter into meditation. Become one, little by little, with the transcendent eye, the infinite eye, the universal eye. Gain insight and revelation into the truth. Gain knowledge that can only be realized by yourself, which in the realm of the occult is called esoteric experience. Old Neil said in a conciliatory tone, you only need to listen to the following description for the moment. The most important thing is to enter meditation. What does not exist in this world? What is imagined? Does Earth count? Klein tried to replace the half-height black top hat with the earthy green, long, chunky intercontinental ballistic missile seen on television. However, no matter how to outline, how to imagine, he always only makes the attention more concentrated. I don't think so. Klein had to use his imagination, sketch a sphere of light, and then sketch a lot of similar things, and bring them together. The light ball overlaps, and is full of the flavor of fantasy. Klein's thoughts gradually become empty and seem to be wandering. His body and mind were quiet, and the unreal fog, mixed colors, which had been filled with non-existent objects and bright and pure light, reappeared, quietly suspended in the sky, palpable. Spirituality extends, unfolds inch by inch, and Klein quietly looks down on it, feels it, embraces it. Very well. True to fortune teller, my entry into meditation was very smooth, just a little bit less than I did at first. Old Neil chuckled. In that case, I will begin to teach you. The most commonly used, easiest to master, and most promising ability in the occult realm, vision. He turned off the gas lamp, but he opened the secret door of the alchemist, making Klein's position so dark that he could not even see the outline of the object. Okay, continue as you are now. Raise your hands in front of your eyes with your index fingers facing each other, but not touching. Open your eyes until you get used to the darkness. According to Neil Sr., Klein worked through the steps, seeing the outline of his fingers opposite each other and the objects around him. You're supposed to lie down and let your body completely relax, but since you're doing so well, let's continue. Old Neil laughed. Focus your gaze on the back of your hand. It must be behind your hand. Then move your fingers slowly, keeping them opposite but not touching, and don't let them out of your sight. Klein listened calmly and lowered her gaze to the empty space behind her palm, allowing her two index fingers, which were opposite but not touching, to move slowly in line of sight. Once, twice, 3 times. All of a sudden, Klein saw a little more fiery red between her fingers. Hey, he made a sound. See the color? Yes. This is the initial vision, and the colors you see are your own aura. Old Neil chuckled. Don't worry. Come a few times, stabilize, and then go to see other places. I also take this opportunity to tell you the meaning of different colors. All right? Klein moved her finger back and forth, focusing on the spark. Old Neil thought for a moment and said, to put it simply, the mainstream of the occult divides the non-physical part of each person into 4 layers. And the core is called the spiritual body, which is the most fundamental spirituality of each person. Animists believe that all living things have a spirit and a spiritual body. I don't know what else, but for the voyeur, the purpose of meditation, the way to increase power, all point to the spirit body. Beyond the spirit body is the star spirit body, which is the former's way of communicating with the spirit world. With the stars is an external expression of the former and is directly related to your own will and current emotions. What you see after taking the potion is what you see in the wandering spirit world of the star spirit body, which does not obey the rules of the material world, involves the transcendent I, the infinite I, the universal I, the past, the present, and the future can overlap, and this is the root of divination. In the spirit world, what you see is just imagery, just symbols, and it has to be interpreted in order to figure out what it means. Divination and much other magic is performed through astral bodies. The relation and difference between it and the spirit body must not be mistaken. One for body, one for use. Klein continued to look at the aura on her fingertips and summed it up succinctly. Beyond that, there is the mind-body, and from here, there is union with the body. It involves the mind. It is a synthesis of your powers of reasoning, of thinking, of seeing, of knowing. And some potions are mainly aimed at enhancing this, and many spells are aimed at it. Old Neil explained in considerable detail. The outermost layer is the etheric body, which is the expression of your life energy and physical state. The color of the aura you see is an explicit symbol of the etheric body. That is to say, in addition to being able to directly see some spirits, ghosts and spirits, maybe including some beings that should not be seen, you can also see other people's etheric body or aura, so that by its different thickness, brightness, color to judge the other person's health and emotional state. When your vision improves, you learn more about the occult, and you discover more details. You can judge the length of someone's life. Yes, I just said emotional states, because the star spirit body will also have a little external presentation. When the sequence becomes higher and the vision reaches a very strong stage, and you can even see the star spirit body of the other person, then you can know more things, which belongs to the level of extraordinary people, such as fortune teller and peeping man. Some people even claim that psychic vision in its strongest state can see anything anywhere, including the past and the future. But I don't really believe that. That sounds pretty impressive. Klein was starting to get excited. Old Neil coughed and continued. Let's go back to the color of the etheric body, or aura, where your hands and feet are involved in movement. You'll see red. The surface of your head and brain will see purple. The detoxification area will be orange. The digestive system will be yellow. Outside the heart and regulatory system will be green. The throat and parts of the nervous system will be blue, he said. The overall balance will make the body white. These are the signs of health. As soon as they get dim, or they get thinner, or they change color, that's a sign that there's something wrong with the area, that it's tired or sick. In addition, the corresponding colors of the inner astral body indicate the current mood. Red is enthusiastic and excited. Orange is warm and satisfied. Yellow is happy and outgoing. Green is calm and peaceful. Blue is calm and thinking. White is bright and positive. Dark is sad and silent. Purple indicates spiritual dominance and apathy. Klein silently remembers, stabilizing her initial vision. Now you can look at something else. Old Neil nodded without further comment. Klein slowly turned her head to look at Old Neil and noticed that he had different colors, thick and thin. The purple of the head is the brightest, the red of the hands and feet is relatively dim, and the overall white is also a little shallow. Are you really getting old? Klein said silently to herself. Not until this time, seeing these, did he really have the feeling of being extraordinary, beyond the extraordinary. He moved his eyes to look at Old Neil carefully, but suddenly he saw a pair of lashless, cold, transparent eyes in the void behind him. Those almost illusory eyes were quietly watching Old Neil, watching themselves. Klein shivered, opened her mouth, and blurted out, "You have eyes behind your back." Old Neil froze for a moment, then forced a smile and said, "Never mind it."